Practice today presented by SiriusXM. Ethan Greenberg and Eric Allen live here in Florham Park on a Friday. The Jets are set to practice in about 30 minutes for the final time before heading to Chicago and playing the Bears at Soldier Field, 1 o'clock. EA, it's almost crazy to think about that the Jets are almost at the midway point of the regular season, 3-4 currently, and let's talk about Sam Darnold here for a minute, because coming into the season, he's the big storyline, the rookie quarterback.
Before we get to Sam Darnold,
you want to talk about my gloves?
What's with the gloves today?
The mic is cold, and it doesn't look like my hand got attacked by sandpaper. Yeah, it looks like you like scrubbed some sandpaper today.
Okay, I'll use lotion, but bottom line here, it's beautiful today in Florham Park. It's probably 55 degrees. It's a great fall day.
It's 40 degrees.
My man's got his pea coat on and his gloves. He's going to Chicago, and apparently there's going to be a snowstorm.
I see a beanie. I see cold people all around me, but you can pick on me because I'm warm and toasty.
I think all the production crew are very warm right now. So let's talk about Sam Darnold.
Okay, so through 7 weeks, fair share of ups and downs, and this week presents another challenge, not in the Bears defense, which we'll talk about later, but the fact that no Quincy Enunwa this week and no Bilal Powell for the rest of the season.
You could have made the argument before the season began that Bilal Powell and Quincy Enunwa were the Jets' two top offensive weapons. Well, Enunwa has already been ruled out this week. He's missed the past couple games, unfortunately, and Bilal Powell went out with the neck injury against the Minnesota Vikings. Got some good news out of that yesterday when Todd Bowles said it was similar to Enunwa's neck injury, the bulging disc that he suffered last year, and he's expected to have a full recovery. With that being said, Greens, Paul is on the injured reserve, so the Jets will be missing both of those guys this week. And then you look at the wide receiver position, we saw the Jets release Terrell Pryor. And then this week, Robbie Anderson's got a sprained ankle. We don't know what his availability is going to be, so the Jets had to make a move here earlier this week and bring in Rashard Matthews.
So let's talk about the rest of this Jets receivers group, because last week it was no Rashard Matthews because he wasn't on the team yet, and it was Andre Roberts, Jerome Peak, Jermaine Kearse, and Robbie Anderson, and Deontay Burnett, who got called up. And Burnett, Roberts, and Peak, all combined for just 3 receptions for about 42 yards. So what do you expect from this group against a stingy Chicago Bears defense?
I mean, the real honest answer, Greens, is a lot of unknowns because we just don't know. Jermaine Kearse had 9 receptions against the Colts that tied a career high. Last week he was targeted a couple times, did not have any catches. Robbie Anderson, we're going to have to see what the final injury report looks like today for the green and white. Rashard Matthews was in his playbook all week. He's got to get up to speed with Sam Darnold, but he's a veteran receiver, was very productive with the Tennessee Titans in 2016 and 2017, only had 3 receptions there this year. But all those other guys you mentioned, Andre Roberts, Jerome Peak, and
Deontay
Burnett. You know, it's like you're always looking for the names because there's a lot of moving parts out here right now. They all got to be ready as well.
And you also have to keep an eye on Trenton Cannon, because he's someone that got a little more run last week. He led the team with 65 yards, and with Bilal Powell down, he's sure to get some more workload in the backfield. And Jeremy Bates spoke to the media earlier this week, and he talked about the injuries and what it means for his offense.
You know, guys have been working. They've been getting reps all season, even the guys that were on the 53. But, it's part of the league. I don't think you can make that as an excuse. Guys got to step up. Cannon stepped up last week and made a big play, and so it's part of the league, and it's an opportunity for guys to make their mark in the National Football League and continue to get better.
Presented by SiriusXM. Ethan Greenberg and Eric Allen live here in Florham Park. Okay, it's time for Inside the Game.
I like JB's sweatshirt. You like those?
Yeah, I do like his sweatshirt. Okay. He's got style, too. It's not the Todd Bowles line, but it's close. All right, let's go to Inside the Game with EA. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Since 2016, outside linebacker Jordan Jenkins is one of 4 players in the league with at least 4 forced fumbles, 4 fumble recoveries, and 8 sacks. Who are the other 3 players? We will get to EA's answer later in the show. If you want to comment your answer, go ahead and then EA is going to guess a little later on in the show. He's writing his notes down, but let's move on here. Let's zero in on the Bears. Let's talk about.
I always think these questions have something to do with the opponent. So there's a hint for you at home if you're answering this. Well,
maybe coincidentally, maybe not. We're going to talk about Khalil Mack right now.
Oh, are we?
Yeah, yes, we are. Maybe a bit of foreshadow there for later on in the show. But Khalil Mack is someone that joined the Bears right before the season, and the first 4 weeks, he's been an absolute monster. I mean, you look at his career stats, you look at his season stats, the man's an absolute animal.
Outstanding talent. The Bears gave up a lot to get him from the Oakland Raiders, but he proved immediately what he can do. He's such a force off the edge. He's got speed, he's got power, he's a unique talent. And Greens, during those first 4 games, Mack had 5 sacks. Now, also, the Chicago Bears had 18 sacks in their first 4 games played. But what's happened in the last 2 weeks, the Bears have had just 1 sack. And Khalil Mack right now, unfortunately for Chicago, and the Jets will take this, he's dealing with the bum ankle, and he has not been able to practice this week, getting a lot of treatment. So Chicago's hoping they can get more out of him this week. What stood out to me last week against the Patriots is Vic Fangio. He dropped Khalil Mack and Leonard Floyd a lot against Tom Brady and company because it was the Patriots' short passing game that they wanted to neutralize. But this week, they're going to be coming at Sam Darnold. But we'll have to see. I don't know. We asked Jeff Dickerson about this earlier this week. I wonder if the Chicago Bears would ever consider sitting Mack in terms of having this guy ready to go for the rest of the season.
Jeff Dickerson works for ESPN Chicago. We spoke to him on the Official Jets podcast. You can check that out in full on NewYorkJets.com.
There's a plug.
And
iTunes,
Dynamite.
iTunes as well.
Yes, absolutely. And you mentioned Khalil Mack. And he hasn't practiced yet this week. The Bears as a whole tied for 8th in the NFL with 19 sacks. You mentioned 14 in the first 4 weeks. But it's more than just Khalil Mack that makes this Bears defense effective. Their rushing defense is also very effective.
Yeah, they're one of the better rush defenses in the National Football League. But the last 2 opponents, the Miami Dolphins and New England Patriots, were able to move the football on the ground against the Bears. The Jets this week, they want to have a balanced attack. And one positive on the injury report that it jumps out is that Isaiah Crowell has practiced full early this week, Greens, and that hadn't happened the last 2 weeks. And the Jets are going to need him this week against the Bears because you don't want these guys teeing off. And Crowell and Trenton Cannon both can be effective in terms of those short passes out of the backfield.
The Bears have a pair of inside linebackers that are very good. Danny Trevathan and rookie Roquan Smith, the number 8 overall pick. And Jeff Dickerson said this too, that he's been good, but he hasn't had that breakout game yet. So the Bears are looking for Roquan Smith to get there. But let's talk about special teams for a minute here, because while special teams is important in every game, it's more so in focus this week considering the Chicago Bears let up 14 points to the Patriots on special teams last
week. Did. A block punt for a touchdown, and then Patterson, the New England Patriots returner, took one to the house, 95 yards. And the Jets here have one of the top return men in all of football. You got to credit Mike McKagan for that offseason signing of Darryl Roberts, and he's doing his damage. Now, last week he said the conditions he played in at MetLife Stadium when we were on the field pregame, it was crazy out there in terms of the wind gusts. He said it was swirling so much, sometimes the ball would take off in midair in a punt, and then the wind would switch. So he had 2 fumbles. He also misjudged the punt, but he had a 53-yard return and a 42-yard kickoff return. He's doing his damage both as a punt returner and a kick returner, and he could really help the Jets' offense. It's hidden yardage that we don't pay too much attention to, but Darryl Roberts has played very well for the Jets.
I would totally agree, and you wrote about it. He said Darryl Roberts was an under-the-radar signing for this squad back in March, and when you look at his numbers, I mean, they're staggering. He's first in the NFL in punt return yards and average per return. Kick return yards, he's second. He's 10th in the NFL on average, and Brant Boyer said this the other week, is that if he were playing, he'd love to block for a guy like this because he doesn't quit.
19 yards per punt return. That is something else, and we saw him with the house call against the Detroit Lions, but he's a threat to take it to the distance every time he has the ball. And the Jets have been practicing it here in the wind. It's been windy the last week and a half out here. Today, it's very calm, but the early forecast in Chicago, a little bit of rain, some wind gusts. I think Darryl Roberts will be just fine.
And, of course, Chicago called the Windy City, so we'll have to monitor the wind gusts and the weather on Sunday. But let's talk about this Jets secondary now, because this is a group that's getting some players back, but also a group that's shuffling a lot the past couple weeks.
So Buster Screen's still in concussion protocol, but he's been out there on the practice field. So we'll have to see. He's another one we'll have to check out on Friday. Is he ready to go? Terrain Johnson, with the quad injury, has not been able to practice this week. Seems likely he'll probably miss another game on the outside.
But at least he was wearing a helmet the past couple days, because that's an improvement from when he just came out in street clothes.
A good point. And the Jets are getting good production, I think, on the outside from Darryl Roberts. And, oh, by the way, Morris Claiborne is having probably the best professional season he's had. But at the safety position, the guy who's been out there in the practice field, somewhat of a surprise, has been Marcus May, dealing with that thumb injury. Now, Todd Bowles said he's going to test it this week. And one of the reporters said, "Are you going to hit him?" He said, "No, I'm not going to hit him, but I have my ways of testing him." So we'll have to see if Marcus May rejoins Jamal Adams back there at the safety position.
And, of course, the Jets signed Ibrahim Campbell earlier in the week as safety depth. But let's talk about this Bears offense, because Mitchell Trubisky is the quarterback. There's no doubt about it. He's completing an absurd amount of his passes. But it's really the weapons around him that I want to talk about, because the Bears made a plethora of offseason moves in signing Taylor Gabriel and signing Trey Burton and Allen Robinson, and they're being very effective so far through 7 games.
Well, we don't know if Robinson's going to go, the Penn State product, and I know our guy out here, Frank the Tank, is very happy that I mentioned Penn State. So we'll have to see if he can get out there, because the Bears like to throw the ball down the field, and Robinson is a vertical threat. Trey Burton had more than 100 yards receiving against the New England Patriots. The one guy who's not a free agent pickup was a draft pick last year, who is a versatile weapon who can do everything for this team. I think we'll talk about in a second. That's Tariq Cohen.
Well, yeah, you saw the stats right there that Taylor Gabriel leads the team with 30 receptions and 329 yards. Well, 1 yard shy and 1 reception short, that's Tariq Cohen. He's second on the team with 28 receptions for 29 receptions, 328 yards.
So we don't get a chance to watch the Bears play a lot, and this Tariq Cohen has kind of jumped on the radar to me, not because I didn't know his name, but when Todd Bowles says, "I see a little of Kareem Hunt in him, I see a little of Darren Sproles in him," that catches my attention, because they use him as a runner, they use him as a receiver, and, oh, by the way, he's a return man.
And Mitch Trubisky throwing the ball all over the field this year. Last week, completed 52% of his passes. That's a season low. Other than that, his season low came in week 1, 65.7%. And Jamal Adams spoke to the media yesterday about Trubisky and the rest of this Jets defense that's playing a little banged up.
What have you seen Trubisky from year 1 to year 2?
He's more poised, obviously. Year 1 to year 2, he's comfortable in the pocket, and he understands his offense, and he's doing a phenomenal job doing it.
In some ways, where you would try to trick a rookie quarterback, do you feel like you can't do that necessarily as much in a game like this?
It's more of just disguising, man. It's not about tricking anybody. Just giving him different looks and to where he's not comfortable, sending different pressures. But again, man, he's a phenomenal quarterback, a lot of talent, and we're just looking forward to the opportunity.
With all the injuries in the secondary, do you put any more pressure on yourself to?
Next man up. No, not at all. Next man up. It's the NFL, man. We're ready.
What's the overall attitude of the defense? Obviously, you did some things well last week, but not happy with the yardage and the 37 points. So where are you guys kind of at coming into this game, overall attitude?
Savage mentality at all times. It doesn't change. No, last week was last week. It's a new week, so we're looking forward to the opportunity.
Welcome back to practice today. Ethan Greenberg and Eric Allen live here in Florham Park. You just heard Jamal Adams. He said savage mentality for the defense. It's a good soundbite, but now it's time for Inside the Game with EA. This savage over here is about to answer some questions. So you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, since entering the league in 2016, outside linebacker Jordan Jenkins is one of 4 players with 4 forced fumbles, 4 fumble recoveries, and at least 8 sacks. who are the other 3 players, Eric Allen?
Yeah, I was waiting for the fellas in the back to show me that question again as I listened to you, but I'll say first guess, Khalil Mack. The Jets are going to Chicago today. Khalil Mack, one of the game's elite pass rushers, and he has a knack for stripping the ball out.
Absolutely.
So let's go with the Mack Daddy.
You got it.
All right, let's go down to Jacksonville because they call them Saxonville. A lot of problems down there with the Jaguars, by the way, but we're not going to talk about that. But they got a guy on the interior who's a big dude, who's disruptive, who makes a lot of plays. CC, Calais Campbell.
EA is 2 for 2. Can he go 3 for 3?
Bam.
Here we go. This is the money question right here.
Well,
you ready?
Thursday night football last night, right?
Oh, God. So I think someone read the media release.
Houston Texans played the Miami Dolphins. I think Deshaun Watson went off, but J.J. Watt's a good player. Jadeveon Clowney's a good player. Let's go with Whitney Merciless.
I will not use the media release anymore because he clearly read up about it. Because if you guess Whitney Merciless, I mean,
3, 4, 3. You have struck out, bro.
I think that's just. I'm not going to say you cheated, but I think you may have seen you may have come across the answer doing your research.
You can't spell game without EA.
Oh! That's what we got here on Practice Today, presented by SiriusXM. But now it's time for the 2-minute drill. Again, Jets-Bears, 1 o'clock, Soldier Field in Week 8. And right now, the Jets have an opportunity to bounce back from a tough loss to the Vikings.
It's a bounce-back game for a rookie quarterback, Sam Darnold. 2 weeks ago, he played his best professional outing against the Indianapolis Colts, completing more than 80% of his passes. He had 3 interceptions against the Vikings. We've been talking about how he's been a flatliner throughout his first professional season. He's playing against a very good defense. He has a lot of moving pieces on offense. Take the shots when they're there, but also be comfortable checking down against the Bears and using a short passing attack at times. Let's see what the rookie can do out here. But I anticipate Sam Darnold to be able to look back in the past, move on, and look ahead what's coming with the Chicago Bears.
Khalil Mack headlines the Bears defense, but this is a Bears unit that is second in the NFL in takeaways, and if the Jets want to win, you can't let the Bears eat.
These Bears feed off of takeaways. They lead the National Football League in terms of points off of takeaways. 65 points off their 17 takeaways. They are tied for first in the National Football League in terms of interception. They are second in the NFL with the aforementioned 17 takeaways. The Jets have to protect the football against this team.
Lastly here is that Jamal Adams, a tone setter for this team, he had some very interesting comments post-game, and I think the Jets are going to have to follow his lead.
Yeah, listen, he is stepping up as a leader. We've seen him be a physical presence on the field, but I also think he's taking a step into his own in terms of what he's bringing with his words out here, and he follows them up on the field. Jamal Adams said this team can be special, and he has been all over the field. He plays with his hair on fire. The Jets need a big game from him. I anticipate they'll get it.
Adams, one of the Jets captains for the season, but that's all we have here. Again, Jets-Bears, 1 o'clock, Soldier Field this Sunday in Week 8. You also got to watch Pregame Central with Olivia Landis, EA, and a very special guest appearance from NFL Network's Brian Baldinger.
Yeah, Baldy in the house in Chicago. It's going to be great, and he's also going to be on a podcast next week.
That's a little teaser there, but that's all we have here from Practice Today, presented by SiriusXM. For Eric Allen, I'm Ethan Greenberg.